Hello good people, and welcome back to the book writing class. And last lesson, lesson 1, we talked about choosing your book topic. We also talked about having a description for your book, and we also talked about choosing a book title. Now in this part of the lesson, we'll learn about the discipline of writing. We'll also learn about research as well as outlines. So let's dive deep into that lesson. The first thing I need you to do is to make a commitment. There's no way you're going to make progress in your writing unless you make a solid commitment about this process. Let me give a story. There's a story told about a general who sailed his army across the sea into the enemy's territory. And when they got to the shore of the enemy's territory, he asked the army to remove everything in the ships, the supplies, the weapons, and then he gave a rather peculiar command. He asked that all the ships be burnt. And what he was trying to communicate to the soldiers is that this war, if you want to leave and go back home, you have to win it. And that was the commitment he made. And you have to have the same kind of commitment when it comes to writing your book. You have to visualize and picture yourself one day holding a hard copy of your book and make that commitment, no matter how this journey is going to turn out. Because I won't lie to you, there are points where it feels quite difficult and you wonder, why did I start this process? But if you have made the commitment, even I challenge you to even mark the date you make the commitment. You will always come back and say, I made a commitment to myself, I have to fulfill that commitment to myself. So that will sort of give you that grit that is needed to push through. And so let's dive into the discipline of writing. When it comes to writing, there's only one way that your book is going to get written, and that's writing it. And so we need the discipline to actually sit down and write. In fact, I'd rather advise you to make that a daily commitment where you set aside some time, sit down and make progress on your book. So in your schedule, you have to set aside 45 to 1 hour at the very least to begin with. It can be more than that, but at the very least to begin with, set aside that daily time to sit down and continue your book. And sometimes you will feel like you don't want to write your book, you don't want to think about your book, but those are the times to actually commit to show up. I'll give the analogy of a leaking tap. If you've ever seen a tap that is leaking, say for instance it's below it is some cement or concrete, if left unfixed, over time those tiny drops crack a hole in the cement. And the only way they do that is because of the consistency. And that's the same way with your book writing process. There are times where you will sit at your desk and you're staring at a blank page. Writer's block is real, but in another lesson we'll talk about writer's block. But unless you make that commitment of showing up every day or as often as you can to advance your book will not progress. And I once attended a training by one of the authors, Kenyan authors I really admire. She's written a book each year. This is more than 7 years now. She's written over 7 titles, and she gave an advice in line with this, and she said there are times where she does not feel like writing, but since she's made the commitment, when that time for writing comes, she will go sit at her desk, write, and sometimes she'll have even to delete what she wrote in the next day because maybe it wasn't as good as she wanted it to be, but the fact still remains that she showed up. And that kind of discipline is what you need to have. The people who say, I just need a week and I'm going to write the entire book, that can really burn you out. It can also not allow you to give the best in the book. I think your book needs to slow cook into a really good book. And the more, and also you don't want to work under pressure. Maybe you have timelines to when this book should be submitted to the editor or whatever it is. But you need to space your time well so that every day you're getting a chance to advance your book. Now the other thing I'd like to talk about is research, which is one of my favorite bits about book writing. Let's talk about research. Research is the one component that is very constant throughout the entire book writing process. So it starts at the beginning and even ends at the end, because you need research throughout this entire process. And the kind of research I'm talking about now is the research that helps you write your book. You know, the more you know about something, the more you can write about it. So remember in lesson 1, we talked about choosing your book topic. So I'm assuming by now you've chosen your book topic. So once you've chosen your book topic, you need to get into some intensive research about that topic. Say for instance, you're talking about depression. You need to get into an intensive research about depression. You need to read books about depression. If you're not already reading books about depression, you need to watch interviews or even just documentaries or movies that have the theme of depression, or even music that touches on that topic. These are just creative ways of just researching and researching and researching, so that you have more information about what you're going to write about. The problem comes in when you've chosen a topic, you don't really know much about it, and you start writing, and at some point you realize either you have run thin, you don't have more to say about it, or you start repeating the same points because you don't have much of points. You know, it's better that you have a lot of research. Even if all of it does not end up in the book, at least you know what to choose from. You can choose this or not that, as opposed to you just have one thing and that's the only thing you're looking at to work. And you know, reading is like one of my personal ways of researching is reading long form articles about a topic I'm writing. Like when I was doing the fatherhood related book, I did a lot of long form articles about fatherhood, and this helped me quite a bit to understand, even to learn from other writers and other experiences about the topic of fatherhood. And so when I sat down to write, I had a lot to say about fatherhood, and this stemmed out of research. And I need to caution you at this point. Remember, the discipline to write is sitting down and writing. You know, so don't get too caught up on the research aspect. As much as important as it is, you still need to write your book. So you need to balance the two. You need to balance the amount of time you give to research, as well as the amount of time you give to actually putting pen to put in words on the paper. So this needs to be a very good balance. And so think about people that you can interview. Think about experts that you can learn from. Even at now, I'd like you to start thinking about who are 2 to 3 people I can possibly interview in the near future about the kind of book I'm writing. Even if it's a personal story, you will need to interview people. See different perspectives of yourself. Let's say you're writing a story about yourself. Maybe you need to interview a teacher who can shed more light to you of who you are at that stage of life, or maybe a grandparent or a parent. If it's something to do with a career, you could interview some colleagues, and all that will help you to just build more content around research. I'll give you some examples of how research helped me in my own book writing. So when I was writing the Meetup is one of my books. I talked about it in the previous lesson. When I was writing the Meetup, I came across this amazing documentary. It's a BBC documentary called In Search of My Father. So the story is about a lady who is a 38-year-old lady who is searching out for her father, because at the time she was planning a wedding and she had never met her father. And so she takes us through the journey of tracking down her father all the way to the first meet. And this book was quite ideal for me because it gave me context from a real life experience of what I was writing. So the book is a novel, but I draw a lot from examples of people. And so that's one way I stumbled out of my own search for research. I stumbled upon this documentary, and it was quite helpful in this process. The other example I can give is there's a time where a good friend and pastor, Kiama Mugambi, came to our church, and he bought one of my books called Day 365, Finding My Way in Every Run. And so we started having a conversation. At the time I was writing the Meetup, and he asked me a question about the book I was writing. And so when I explained to him it's about a young man who meets his father for the first time in 25 years, he took a long pause and told me, I think there's somebody you need to meet. And unknown to me, he had a contact of somebody who had actually met his dad for the first time in 18 years. So he shared the contact and referred me to that person. Later down the week, I gave a call to this person and we set up a meeting. Initially, I thought this would be like an hour and a half meeting. So we met in a cafe and I thought it's going to be like an hour and a half meeting. I had my questions ready, but it dragged into a 7-hour very intensive interview that was so interesting because he was just detailing to me even the emotions he felt, stage by stage, how this had affected his life. And all that research found its way into building the characters in my book and telling my story. So research is important, and I cannot overemphasize this aspect of research. There's a quote I really love by Virginia Woolf, and she says that read 1,000 books and your words will flow like a river. Now, not necessarily to read 1,000 books, reading books is part of research, but all I'll say is I'll replace that with research. Get a lot of research and your words will flow like a river. The other point I'd want to talk about is having your book outline. This is one of the most important and critical aspects of your success for the book that you're writing. But I'm going to save this for the third lesson. But for now, let me talk about having accountability. So as you do this journey, you need to have accountability. You need to appoint somebody who will often check in on you and ask you, what progress are you making? Can I see what you've done? This could be your editor, this could be your spouse, this could be your prayer partner, this could be a good friend, somebody that can regularly check in on you and find out how far are you in this journey that you have started. So that said, I'd like to give you these lessons assignments. Remember, every lesson will have assignments just to help you to further progress in your book writing. So here are the assignments. All right, so assignment number 1, decide on your set writing time. So this needs to be between 45 to 1 hour at the very least to start. Every day, set it as a time for writing your book. It might mean waking up a bit earlier than normal. It might mean stretching over an hour before you sleep. I tend to be a morning person, so I prefer the waking up a bit early. You might be doing it over the lunch hour, but set aside some time and commit to show up every day, just like that drop, show up every day for that progress of your book writing. The second thing I want to give you as an assignment is select 2 to 3 people to interview concerning your book topic. Figure out who are the people that can give you some form of research towards your book building, and set some time to interview them, as well as watch a documentary about the topic that you're trying to write. And the last thing I'd like to leave you with is choose an accountability partner. Appoint somebody who can check in on you and follow through with you on the set deadlines that you will agree upon for your book writing. And now with that, allow me to pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the writers that are already on this journey of book writing. Lord, you are the master creator. We draw creativity from you. We ask that you may inspire us and guide us, even as we continue to write these books that will have a significant impact, oh Lord, to the lives of many people. May you lead them and guide them in your grace and love, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. And lastly, I'd like to invite you to be one of our ministry partners through your financial support. It takes quite a lot of time and energy, as well as resources, to put these videos together. And so if you feel led to support this work, which we aim to reach as many people as we can, feel free to send your contribution to the details below, and we would really appreciate that. And may the Lord bless you even as you generously give. And also, if you're looking to engage a videographer or have any audiovisual needs, kindly reach our team led by Jared of Grit Audiovisual, and they will be able to just sort you out in a very amazing way, and you'll love the work that they do. So for now, I want to leave you with God's blessings, and looking forward to see you on lesson 3 of the book writing course. All the best.